Hi everyone, this is Suzette for Cloudy Sky today. Today we are gonna make, I'm gonna modify this cake recipe. Yes, I'm gonna add coffee in it somehow. Hey, I like the taste of tiramisu. I was thinking it has coffee in it. I can modify a recipe with some coffee. I already have some coffee in a pot. This first part, I did try figuring out because I boiled the coffee with you know, with the grounded coffee beans, and I was like, well, wouldn't that make it too gritty? So I did try filtering it at first, and I did have some coffee filter. So I was like, okay, let me see how I would filter it into this cup. Man, how they make these things, it's just so hard to decipher sometimes. But I did, it didn't quite work. But it was interesting to try to figure. But I did gather all my ingredients for the cake. You can see in the background I got baking powder, sugar, and flour, and all the great stuff. But yes, I did struggle with figuring out how to filter the coffee without using a coffee pot. Without using a coffee pot, which now I think about it, I should have used a coffee pot because I do have a coffee pot that filter holds into and just drip it into before I get started with the cake. But yeah, I decided to try the filter on the strainer. And I'm looking at the liquid and I'm like, I don't really see too much of the ground and stuff. Well, unfortunately for me, it leaked over onto the counter, so I wasn't too pleased with that. Did try squeezing the coffee filter bag, like make it like a bag and squeeze it to see if the liquid come out. It was interesting. I mean, I am gonna try using coffee again to make a cake and probably try and make it stronger because I did make the cupcakes and it just had a slight coffee flavor. Didn't have that oomph I needed. And in this case, it spilled into the cup, and I keep trying. So yeah, I spent a couple times struggling with this. And for this part, if I have to redo it, what I would do is use my coffee pot, filter the coffee, and then boil it to concentrate it so it has a stronger flavor. So now I let the coffee do its little thing. I'm still trying to do that thing. But then eventually, at some point, I was like, you know what? I gotta get started. So I got started. And instead of starting with what do you call it? Yeah, I'd already gathered all the ingredients. I always like it when they tell you that in directions so you don't leave out your ingredients. Plus, it makes the shot easier, I did preheat the oven already to 350 degrees. But instead of using an 8-inch pan, and just to let you know, this is that all recipes simple white cake, but I decided that I was going to make it into a coffee cake. Instead of milk, I'm going to use coffee. I also did one more substitution. So there's my little measuring cup. I used that app measuring cup. I can't remember where I got it from. Measured my flour in. I use a strainer to do the sifting. I've often bought sifting tools, and after a while they stop working, and I find the strainer is like one of the best things. So strainer gets multiple use. I can use a strainer to sift the flour, and I'm also adding the baking powder into the sifted flour, and then I just tap the strainer on my hand to sift the flour, so it comes out nice and smooth. Then I measure the sugar, and here's the substitution: coconut oil instead of butter. And I cream that coconut oil and sugar, and I get a spatula, and you know, I let it cream for a little while, and then I use a spatula to look on the edges. After I do that, I add the eggs, one by one. Now, I like to crack the egg in a separate bowl because I have on occasion gotten a bad egg, and that would be the whole batter being wasted. So yes, I'm dirtying one more dish, but I crack the egg into the dish so I can look at it. Pour that one egg into the batter, let it mix. Crack another egg into the previous dish, which is now empty. I can get a good look at it to make sure it's a good egg, and then I can add that to the batter and let it mix. Then I go ahead and add the coffee. Now I'm using coffee instead of milk in this recipe, but I am sticking to the half a cup. I didn't, make it any more liquid or any less. So instead of half cup milk, I did half cup coffee. And guess what I did? I just poured it into my half cup and used it. Yeah. And I didn't see much dregs. And I actually ate the cupcake and I didn't taste the beans. I mean, it's so finely grown anyhow. I don't know why I was worried about filtering it in the first place. Now, after adding the coffee, hopefully the timing on this isn't off because it's sometimes difficult to be talking while making stuff in the kitchen. So what I end up doing is making the stuff, and then to the best of my recollection, while I'm doing a voiceover, I talk about the steps. So right about now, I'm guessing is that I'm adding the flour. So I have all the liquids mixed together, and I'm taking that flour mixture that I did first, and I'm adding the flour little by little to the liquid so that it doesn't go in lumpy. And I'm liking the color. It's a little bit pale, but I'm still liking the color. I mean, after tasting it, I kind of wish I added more coffee or had a more concentrated coffee being used. Maybe boiled a little better. But I don't want it to be bitter. So next time I try it, since I worry about the beans, the grounded beans, ended up in the final product, I probably should make the coffee, and then after making the coffee, boil it to evaporate out some of the coffee. Not burn it though, because burnt coffee tastes horrible. And then use that as my half cup. The next thing I do is prepare my cupcake pan, which I guess I could have done that way ahead in the beginning. And I like to use paper in the cupcake pan because it makes it easier to cut. And I still use baking spray even though I use the paper. So I have that baking spray. I spray my liners, and it makes it slides onto the paper easier. It doesn't stick on the paper. I think it really, helps. But it takes me a little while to do that because it's me. And if the recipe says it takes 20 minutes to prep, it takes me 30 minutes to prep because not that fast in the kitchen, but it still comes out all right. Now, after getting all my cupcake liners in the pan and spraying the lovely baking spray, I add the batter to the pan. I do confirm that my stove is, you know, finished preheating from the 350, which, trust me, by the time I get to it, it has. And instead of 25 to 30 minutes, or well, actually, the recipe, if I'd put it in if I did it in a cake pan, it would have been like 30 to 40 minutes. I'm getting mixed up. I was going to say, instead of 20 to 30 minutes, I went 30 to 40. No, it's the other way around because I'm doing a smaller pan. Now the cupcakes I bake for 20 to 25 minutes. Now, if you like this content, and I hope you do, the next time I'm cooking in the kitchen and experimenting, I can share it with you. So like and subscribe, let me know. And I'm sorry I don't have a final picture because I ate all the cupcakes. So bye, see you next time.